You are watching the Daily Decrypt, where we bring the currency competition. I am your host, Amanda B. Johnson, and today's episode is brought to you by Black Halo Bid Halo. Some people create online stores, and other people create cryptocurrencies. But rarely, if ever, have we seen someone creating an online store and the cryptocurrency to go with it. Voxelus is the name of the VR store, and voxels are the only type of currency accepted to purchase them. Here to tell us more about that is Voxelus founder Halsey and Voxel, the cryptocurrency developer, Jim Blasko. Each of you, in turn, please tell me what your involvement is with the project. What is your role?
So I'm the founder of Voxelus and the majority shareholder. I'm actually co-founder, majority shareholder, and really sort of the driving force between us creating the Voxel as a really joint venture between Jim and Michael Turpin and the guys at Voxelus.
Okay. How about you, Jim?
I am the creator of Voxels. So it's the digital cryptocurrency for the Voxelus VR platform. That's what I was brought in to do with Michael. Michael does the PR, and it was up to me to make sure that there was a secure coin that was quick and perfectly usable for everybody in these virtual reality worlds.
I'm also the founder and majority shareholder and chairman of Uphold, who's also involved in the stories.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, I have a few questions that are specifically for you, Halsey, and a few that are specifically for you, Jim. Halsey, I'm very interested. I don't know if I've ever heard of, so some people create stores, right? And some people create cryptocurrencies, but I've never seen anybody create a store and a cryptocurrency to go together. What gave you the idea to do that?
So I don't know if you know this, but Mt. Gox stood for Magic the Gathering. Mm-hmm. And that's a game. And for decades, there's been a problem, which is if you earn money in a virtual world, you can't transport that money out of the game. So no matter how creative you are, no matter how cool things you build, they get stuck. That money is stuck. And so people like Magic the Gathering set up exchanges to try to sell these in-game currencies. And then when Bitcoin came along, Magic the Gathering said, oh, here's a much better way of creating a currency that can escape borders and become much more fungible. So they gave up on their in-game currency business, and they focused on the digital currency business. So when we started Voxelus, which lets people build their own worlds, lets people create content that can be used in building worlds, we wanted people to be able to, from wherever they are in the world, to be able to not only earn a living in this virtual world, but to convert that money back into a usable form for whatever currency they have. You see, there's no law that says that you have to work in the real world to earn money. You can actually do things that are valuable in the virtual world and earn money too. And people have known that for decades. And in fact, the reason we call Bitcoin a virtual currency is based on the fact that it originated from a game currency, an in-game currency. So what we've done really is for the first time created an ecosystem that allows people globally, they don't have to have dollar accounts or euro accounts, whatever, to be able to build, upload, sell, create, monetize, and then in, like eBay, like YouTube, be able to actually sustain themselves off of their creative efforts.
I didn't know that Mt. Gox was people trading in-game points originally. I guess I assumed that they were trading trading cards, but
yeah, but I mean basically it's the same thing. They were
okay.
It was Magic the Gathering, and any item that you bought in an in-game world it was impossible to get your money out.
Right.
Now, you could buy Beanie Babies and exchange them on eBay. So there was a market for Beanie Babies, but there was no market for any of these games. And so, you know, people would have, you know, they'd level up characters and all kinds of stuff, but they could never get any money for it. So,
all right, so now Jim, do I understand correctly that Voxel, the cryptocurrency, is a fork of Litecoin? Will you please give us a brief overview of the tech specs of Voxel?
Okay, so a lot of people get confused when they ask this kind of question because they don't realize that Litecoin is actually a fork of Bitcoin, and a lot of people have forgotten, it seems like. So really, Voxels is partially Bitcoin, it's Litecoin, and we've taken some elements from Peercoin and added that in there, and some things from Feathercoin. So we're kind of like this mutt of a mix of really awesome stuff, and we've got this great coin.
Well, let me ask you, I guess, some of the basics. Is it proof of work or proof of stake or delegate? What is it?
It's a proof of work coin, and as far as we know, it may be the only proof of work coin with a advanced checkpointing server built into it. So I think we're one of a kind in that aspect now.
Okay. And is there a coin cap? And what is, say, the block time?
Okay, so the block times are still pretty close to Litecoin's. They're 2.5 minutes, which makes us about 4 times faster than Bitcoin. There's 210 million coins, which were all pre-mined and offered in crowd sale. The numbers were broken up. They offered 15%, which was 31.5 million coins for sale during the crowd sale. The rest of the coins won't be sold until actually they've sold the first 31.5 million. So there's no problem with the large inflation of coins or anything like that.
So it's 100% pre-mined, is that correct?
Yeah, and you're going to see that, I think, with the future of all cryptocurrencies that are made for in-game systems or corporations, companies, anything. All this is going to be pre-mined because you can't just say, well, why don't you take Bitcoin? Well, there's a good reason, because you can't control the ecosystem of it if it's Bitcoin. If it's your own coin, you can issue however many you want. You can control the inflation of it. You can set the price initially, and then really the community takes over after that.
Okay, so now where will the reward come for people doing the proof of work mining if there is zero inflation because it's 100% pre-mined?
There's actually zero payout for mining, so you know, mining voxels wouldn't do you much good. We have our own set of network of miners that mine voxels just to keep it running. The fact that it's fully pre-mined, we don't need miners. We don't need anything like that to keep it going. We've eliminated that.
Okay, so the Voxelus company is making up the infrastructure of Voxel, the cryptocurrency.
And Uphold, who are also contributing ongoing security to the platform. So, you know, I think our goal is to make it the most secure coin of all of the coins, and to have, you know, very strong built-in DDoS protection, etc. So you know, the idea behind the Voxel is to make it the perfect currency for VR. And so, you know, here's the way I look at it, right? So you know, our stretch goal is we want to have 320 million people by 2020 using the Voxel. Now, we'd like to have all of them on the Voxelus platform, which is not unrealistic when you look at things like Minecraft, which, you know, we actually have more use cases and more content than and ecology. But if you think about it, right, and you say, well, if these guys have 320 million people who use this, that makes the currency basically the same size or number of participants as the U.S. dollar. And I've been, you know, very clear from the very beginning that I think the future of vertical currencies are currencies that satisfy very specific use cases. So I think we're moving away from just using the currency we're born into to using the currencies that we believe in. And I think 5 years from now, the money you hold in your wallet will say as much about you as the car you drive. And it's just
you say as you drive a car, okay?
If you want, I'm driving the Ford plug-in hybrid whatever, whatever that says.
Well, I know so much more about you now.
Yeah, I
Well,
know.
now, Halsey, was Voxelus already planned as a virtual reality software store before the idea of the Voxel came along, or were they planned totally to be together?
So I launched Voxelus, and I did not have the currency in mind. What happened was I remembered probably one of the most influential books that I've ever read, which was called Snow Crash. And in that book, it was Neil Stephenson, who now works for Magic Leap, and it won the Hugo Award, and it was the basis on which the Matrix was created. And it was the first time that virtual reality and virtual currency were in the same book, and they were called Hong Kong bucks. That was the name of the virtual currency, and people were actually using virtual currency because all of the regular currencies were debased, but not the virtual currency. And I read that in '93 when I was starting CNET, and it has always had a profound effect on me, as it has most people who have read it. Most people who haven't read it have at least seen the movie The Matrix, so they get the idea. And so I realized, we're at the point where science fiction is going to become science reality. And, I like innovating. It's like, gets me out of bed every morning, and that gave me the inspiration to put together something that that made a virtual world more tangible and more real.
And now the virtual currency games, not virtual currency, I keep getting mixed up with virtual currency and virtual reality. Let's just go VR. I'm going to go VR. So the VR offerings from Voxelus are available now, is that right? And there's like a sort of stage where, for the next couple of weeks, all the VR games are free, and then after that, voxels will be charged for them. Is that right?
That's correct. So what makes us different than many other virtual currencies is that if there are 100 million people playing the game, there are going to be 100 million people who have to buy voxels. So it's not that they're just a currency that's nice to use, or just
100 million people you hope buy voxels.
Well, we can't guarantee. We can only build our business, build our vision, and see what happens.
And now, Jim, the crypto voxel is being traded at least on Bittrex. Is that right? Is it being traded anywhere else other than Bittrex? I believe Shapeshift said they plan to pick it up as well.
Yeah, there's Uphold hasn't launched yet, and Shapeshift hasn't launched yet, and we're always trying to get us listed on some bigger exchanges. But Bittrex right now is where you can find voxels. Since it's launched, it's been #1 in volume every day since it's launched a week ago, or about a week ago.
Yeah, well, no, it's doing very well, and Uphold should be coming very soon. And just to this is a very important point. When Uphold launches, you will be able to buy the voxel with any account in India, China, the EU, the US, or any major credit card. And that's because, as of now, we just announced India, Uphold supports connectivity into all of these monetary systems. So you will be able to go and buy voxels with money from India or China, and convert it to gold. And so the voxel inside of Uphold will be fully convertible instantaneously into 24 other currencies, including Bitcoin, and into 4 metals. So you can turn your voxels that you've earned into gold, if that's what you want. So we've created a system by putting Uphold together with the voxel that allows people to be able to earn money building really cool stuff, and just like has happened in YouTube, and to be able to convert that back into whatever currency they need to pay their bills.
And now is Voxel the cryptocurrency network, is that open source? Can I go view that on GitHub, for example?
The Voxelus platform is open source, so if you're into VR, that is completely open source.
Oh, the games as well are open source.
Yeah, the system, the platform itself is open source, and
Okay.
Martin from Voxelus.com is working hard to bring in all kinds of VR content. They just landed a deal which brings in, I think, what was it, Halsey, like 20,000
Well,
virtual reality
so
items.
we signed a deal with Flat Pyramid that brings in 7,000 VR items that are already VR ready. By the end of the year, we should have just from them 16,000 items that can be woven into worlds, spaceships, guns, all that sort of stuff. And then the focus is going to be on bringing in content like Star Wars or Disney. So you can get a Star Wars walker and spaceship and whatever, and build out these games that you then effectively live in. And so the idea is to create a rich ecology of content so people can create all kinds of games and all kinds of worlds to play them.
And will the voxel be tradable in any of these games? So like I could create a game where I say have like a pub on the moon, and then I can sell what? Like I can sell virtual beers for actual voxels?
For voxels, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it drives the whole ecosystem, but the most important part it solves, because people have been selling virtual beers for a long time, what people have not solved is how you take that virtual beer money and convert it into dollars. And that's what we've done for the first time. We've allowed in-game currency, and I'll tell you, it's very hard from a regulatory standpoint, because Uphold has regulatory permission to do things like convert voxels to dollars that Voxelus does not have. So it was a matter of putting together the various pieces with their regulatory approvals to be able to do this. I don't think, if I wasn't the founder of both these companies, I don't think it would be possible today to be able to do this, because I have to know the regulations on both sides and be able to make them, fit very well, so that neither, does anything that violates any money transfer rules. So Voxel can create the currency, but they can't trade it. And then Uphold does currency, but they allow it to be converted into a bunch of other forms.
I see. And now maybe this demonstrates my naivete about VR, but like in a Voxelus game, could I interact with other people who are also playing Voxelus games, or like could I invite them into my game?
We're the first multiplayer game, and so we're very early, which is great because it gives us a chance to build out a lot of functionality before, but we're already multi-user. And, by the end of this month, we should have the marketplace up and going. We already have people who want to submit to us objects that they want to sell. So, the goal is to take what YouTube did in, let's say, 3 or 4 years, where they allowed people to ultimately earn a living on YouTube. We want to collapse that down to a year, and increase the amount of content that our people have access to. So the voxel is, you can't pick one currency, because if you pick the dollar as your primary currency, 96% of the world doesn't use the dollar. So we create this intermediate currency called the voxel, and we allow it to be convertible back out into, like I said, whatever your home currency is that sends you bills in pounds. We allow you to convert it to pounds within Uphold.
Well, this is all very interesting. Thank you for your time, fellas. Halsey, will you give us any relevant URLs that people can visit to learn more? And Jim, the same as for you as well. Do you have any websites that people can visit to follow your work?
The primary, the companies I've started are uphold.com, uphold.com, voxelus.com, and the Voxel, Voxel.com is the website for the voxel itself.
You can find me on the same sites as well. I'm also all over bitcointalk.org.
Oh, okay. Oh, what's your username?
It's Jim Blasko.
Oh, okay. Just like your real name. All right, very good. All right. Well,
All right.
Thanks for your time, fellas. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Great to
Bye.
see
Yeah.
you.
Bye-bye. Today's episode is brought to you by BlackHalo BitHalo, which was among the first to offer what many call the most basic use case for smart contracts, the double deposit escrow. The escrow client is compatible with both Bitcoin and Blackcoin, and you can download it for yourself at blackhalo.info or bithalo.org. And now it's time for you, dear viewer, to leave your feedback. What say you of cryptocurrencies which are created for products and products which are created for cryptocurrencies? Interesting indeed. Leave your feedback below. Thanks. Maciek Olpinski is a technology blogger who got his start at Google and who has recently begun exploring the potential relationship between cryptocurrency and virtual reality.
We'll be able to create these virtual worlds, which are basically hosted, maybe not hosted on the blockchain, but where the consensus at the, as to what happened in the virtual world, or who owns what, or who owns a particular piece of virtual real estate, it will be hosted on the blockchain.